So this is the March 4th, 2021 meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust. And this is Judy Timon. And we have members Madeline Nash, Suzanne Cameron, and Karen Weiner. So I guess we are ready to start, since the first item on the agenda is the YWCA at Hillside, and we have John Feehan here with us.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hello. Caitlin, are you in control of the webinar? Can you do my camera for me? Because I don't seem to have the control for that.
I am in control of it, but I don't see that you have that option available right
Okay.
now.
All right. Well, then I'll look at a blank screen.
Can you see what I'm showing?
I can see the application. Yes.
Okay. Well, we can hear you, so that's okay.
So YWCA did submit an application to the CPA for additional funding for our YWCA at Hillside project. We did this a little bit reluctantly because we had already asked for $150,000, and the committee had been good enough to give us $150,000 towards the project. And then the project has just been delayed for several years. And a lot of the delay was just the planning that David Hall was doing at Hall in Moscow. A lot of the delay was also due, though, to the shift from a net zero project to a passive house project. And that is not a decision that we undertook. That was a decision that David Hall undertook to make the entire project passive house as well. And the passive house standards for residential don't line up easily with a lodging house. And I suspect that's because nobody else has done a passive lodging house. And for those of you who don't know what passive housing is when the design of the building is such that you do not need to either heat or cool it, but rather the sun and the position of the building is such that it heats and cools itself. So the problems with that are then that normally you would have a situation where you'd have a house with doors that are open between rooms for the majority of the day. But in our case, we'll have 10 separate rooms with doors that are closed throughout the entire day. So then that became a challenge in terms of the mechanical ventilation, dehumidification for the building. And it took them quite a while to find a solution to that problem. So that's one of the biggest delays that we had in terms of getting our project going. And then we were literally ready to get going in March of 2020. We had everything done and ready to go. And when the pandemic hit, the governor initially closed down construction. And when construction got opened back up again and people were able to start getting schedules organized, our schedule was not until the end of October, beginning of November, when we were able to begin construction. So construction has begun, but unfortunately the time delay and the technical issues ended up increasing the cost of the project. And so we started reaching out to Federal Home Loan Bank for funding, and we just missed the threshold this year for funding. And the reason we missed it, I reviewed our application with Toby, and she felt that we scored very well, except for one category. And the one category was the ratio of the loan to the grant. And we had asked for about $160,000 in loan and $300,000 in grant. And unfortunately, that gave us very few points in that category. So in terms of applying again in the summer, we wanted to get the grant portion of that application as small as possible. And so that's why we decided to go back to the CPA and ask for an additional $50,000.
Yeah, sounds pretty clear to me.
Well, it sounds like there were factors out of your control, you know,
Yeah,
the change in the type of housing and so forth.
Yeah. And this is a turnkey operation, so we're buying it from David Hall completed. So we don't have control over anything.
How is the rest of the project coming? Is that completed or near completion?
No, he's completed Cottage Court, I believe, and he started construction on one of the other segments of the project, but he's a long way from being complete. He still has the majority of his housing units to build. He hasn't started on the greenhouses or on the common buildings.
so it sounds like your portion of the project is going to be complete before and occupied this year. I mean, I was over there a few months ago and saw the foundation being poured. And you said in your report that occupancy would be November, December this year. So you're going to be way ahead of the other sections.
Yes, that's correct.
John, this is Madeline. I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First of all, I want to say I feel for you. It sounds very frustrating. I mean, we have a need for this housing, and it's unfortunate that it's been delayed, out of your control. So with the FHLB, they don't usually make their announcements until December. So you won't know whether you're getting that. And meanwhile, you're going, you know, construction is going to be moving forward. So how does that work?
Yeah. So we have an agreement with David Hall that if we do not have all of our financing in place at the closing, that he will extend to us a loan at 0% interest for up to 2 years. And that does not have to be repaid along the way, just as long as at the end of 2 years we repay it.
Okay, so what about DHCD? I mean, normally they like to fund things where the funding is a known rather than a hoped for. So how is that working with DHCD?
So far, so good. I've explained to them the situation that we're in. I've explained to them what our plan A is and our plan B is. And they are, at least at this point, they've not indicated that that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we take possession at the closing and they give us the money at the closing to do that, they're fine.
Right. So they're not at any risk because their money doesn't come in until everything's complete.
Right.
Have you thought about or have you asked DHCD for an increase?
I talked with Lynn Shields over a year ago when I first became apparent that there was going to be a cost increase.
Mm-hmm.
And her first comment, the first thing out of her mouth was, "I hope you've got a way to solve this without coming to me for money." So I did not go back to them and ask them for additional funds.
Do you think that's because of the delays, you know?
I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we looking to endorse or what, is it just an FYI?
I believe as part of the application process for CPA, I need your endorsement.
So, yeah, so we need like an official vote to endorse the application.
And
Yeah.
can I give one more thing to Madeline, because this may be helpful to her as well. I had a conversation with DHCD about completing the affirmative fair housing marketing plan, the tenant selection process, all those things. And they were confident that if I got those documents done and approved in advance, that I could actually run the lottery and do the screening so that as soon after we did the closing, I could get people into the units.
Mhm. That's good.
So I move to support the application to the CPC from the Y.
Second.
Second,
We're all fighting to second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 We need this more than ever. The price of housing in Newburyport is off the charts, and the cost of building that housing is going up due to COVID and supply and demand needs. This is a no-brainer.
Yeah, and especially building affordable housing within these constraints, within the energy constraints and just all the parameters that project has. It's just such a testament to the YW and to Newburyport to have affordable housing at a site like that.
I really thank you all. I mean, it's a little embarrassing to have to come back and ask for additional funding, and I greatly appreciate your support of the YWCA in this project.
It's not embarrassing. It's noble. Do it. We're doing.
It's a lot of work for you, John, all this additional fundraising, and applying to FHLB is no picnic. So it's appreciated.
Thank you.
And usually at these meetings, I won't be able to be at this CPC meeting, but I think Suzanne and Madeline are going to be there.
I think it's
Karen and Madeline.
right.
I'm going to try to.
Okay. Sometimes they do ask for, or sometimes you can. I have done this before. I've chimed in on other affordable housing applications. So, there's an opportunity for them to do that if they're asked to state an opinion at the meeting. So
Great. So it's helpful to have had this conversation with you, John.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Good luck.
John.
Good luck. Keep up the good fight.
Thank you.
Post it.
Okay, good. Next on the agenda, we have the emergency rental assistance program update, and we have Lisa Prendergast, who's here with us, and we do have an updated document showing our balance and expenditures. So Lisa, do you want to give us an overview?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. We have to date served through this program 21 households, and the total expenditure is $56,291. So we still have a balance of $43,709. The referrals are coming in steadily. We still continue to see those. The referrals that are coming in seem to be people that we haven't assisted before. So people that are coming to the Pettingill House for the very first time and then receiving other services in addition to the financial assistance program. They do come through our website. We get just as many applications through the website as we do get phone calls. Since the last meeting, we've had 5 new applications come through, and 4 of those are pending due to submitting documentation. Overall, it's been very busy, and definitely the referrals are continuing to come in pretty quickly.
So the pending applications, I'm looking at the spreadsheet right now, and it says 21 households. So that's exclusive of the pending. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, okay,
The 21 households are the households that have been helped already. Yeah.
okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, so it does seem to me like it's been just a steady, the numbers
Mhm.
haven't increased, haven't decreased. It's been a steady flow since the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm a little concerned going into the next few weeks as the pandemic unemployment is halted until Congress can pass something. So we anticipate, we saw this in December, that there was a disruption in unemployment benefits for a couple of weeks. It took some time to get turned back on. So we have seen that affect rent and the ability to pay rent for a
Yep.
particular month. So I imagine if that doesn't get passed, we may see another kind of bump like that over the next month or so.
Yep. Yep. Um,
Well, it seems at this point, we still have enough funds in there for what we anticipate. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, okay, good.
I would say for yeah.
You want to, I know we're seeing you pretty much monthly, but I'm wondering if we get to a certain level, $10,000, for example, and we're getting low on funds, like to alert the trust so that we can, have the opportunity to replenish the fund.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Lisa, I don't know if you would know this, but I had heard that there was an effort to try to make the application process to raft a little bit easier.
Mm.
Do you know if have you seen that?
Yeah, we have a lot, we always refer to RAFT a lot. It has become a little bit easier. However, wait times are still, fairly lengthy. We assist folks with that process as much as possible. But they are trying to get a little bit more streamlined and need a little less paperwork at this point. So really the barriers are kind of gathering all this paperwork and submitting it. And actually getting through the route. So, but it has become easier.
Well, that's encouraging.
Yes.
And looking at your spreadsheet, it looks like everyone that we've been able to assist has been at 50% area median income. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we can go
below
up to
50%.
I'm sorry, what?
Below 50%.
Right.
Mhm.
But our program can go up to 80% area median income, right?
Yeah, and we may see some of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just due to the duration of the pandemic, certainly this is affecting families that haven't been in this situation before.
Right. Okay.
So Lisa, have you been able to refer people to RAFT and have RAFT help them before they come to us, or in place of coming to this fund?
It can depend on, I don't want to talk to, all those different cases are specific, but it depends on what type of financial despair they're in. If they need to apply just to this program or several others. Is this just a bump in the road because their unemployment was delayed for a month? Or is this more long-term and they need several different sources to kind of keep them afloat? So it depends on the case, I would say.
Anyone else have questions for Lisa?
No, I
thank
just.
you. Oh, go ahead, Madeline.
Well, I was just going to say, we're going to be talking about this at the CPC meeting, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, and that's like the middle of April. So we might want some updated information before then. That's all.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I was just going to thank you again, Lisa, for running this program for us. I think it's really making a difference in the lives of quite a few people.
And thank you.
It's great to see how many families we're supporting too. It's so important.
Absolutely. It's been a lifeline and a safety net throughout the whole year. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I like the report of the number of elders and adults and children,
Mhm.
and also the ethnicity is good to see. Yeah.
We're lucky,
Okay.
we're fortunate that we were able to, provide these funds. Not every community has that opportunity, so.
Yeah, and it's so great. It's so great and beneficial, and really, like I said, just providing a safety net for these folks. So it's been great.
Great.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening. Bye-bye.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the review of the new zoning changes, the 5250 and the 40A zoning changes. Caitlin, are you going to review that?
This was
That's
more,
right.
I just wanted to make sure that you all had the information available to you, and just like an FYI, much of this comes down to the threshold for city council votes required to adopt zoning related to multifamily housing, majority versus supermajority. So we just wanted to make you aware. Director Andy Port gave an overview to the planning board a couple weeks ago. So we just wanted to make sure that you all had the same information.
Yeah, what I found interesting was that you could still force a 2/3 majority vote if you had the right number of abutters objecting to the zoning change.
We're working on that for the next round. CHAPA.
Yeah, this is actually a CHAPA summary. So Karen, I don't know if you wanted to
biased,
chime
obviously,
in.
but this was something we've worked on for years. So
I know. I saw that and I thought, what? Really?
I didn't know that was in there.
There's a few things in there that could use some fixing, but the gist of it, I think, is, why should it take more to upzone than it does to pass anything else? So
Oh
I think
God.
that will be helpful. And the good news in Newburyport, I mean, is we're already kind of doing the right thing around the MBTA station. We've passed the 40R. I don't know if this means that Newbury would do that too on the other side of it, or have to do multifamily by right, because I don't know if the station's technically in both towns, or I don't know.
Well,
the answer to that.
the station is, but the parcel that Minco built on, the parcel was actually in Newburyport.
Right, but I'm saying yes. But does Newbury?
Oh, but does Newbury benefit by that because it's an MBTA station?
Well, I'm not asking so much do they benefit, but do they have to also zone for sort of that side of the station, kind of that area that's in Newbury? Do they have to do that too? I don't know.
I hope they do.
I'm sure you do.
Just
efforts
saying.
Many years ago.
Just saying.
Yeah. So it's good to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's too bad that I saw that. Do you know, Karen, the status of the renter buyback? I heard that was it Somerville that initiated a home rule petition to try to do that on their own?
Yeah, I haven't heard if that's gone anywhere yet. It didn't go anywhere with the state. So I know a lot of advocacy organizations are filing that again for this session. We just did.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully very soon our city council will get on the ball and somebody will propose these changes. So we can only hope, right? Okay, so number 4, review of the Housing Choice Grant. So Caitlin, my question on this is, have we heard from the state about the Housing Choice Grant? Because when I talked to, I had that conversation, they said that they were thinking about notifying communities by the end of February.
Yes, I had the same question. I was wondering when we will hear, and it did supposed to be by the end of February. So I checked in with DHCD and they just don't have the decisions yet. So we're told to be patient and we'll hear as soon as they're able to let us know.
So, and I guess my second question is, if we get this grant, that means we're going to have housing at the Brown School. I don't know that if you can answer that, but.
I mean, I believe that's the intention.
Affordable housing, not just housing.
Right.
Well, it's only going to be affordable housing if the RFP says it's going to be affordable housing.
Time will tell. I still think, I mean, I guess I said this before and I still feel this way, that if the grant funds are to be used to design a heating system or an HVAC system, it seems like putting the cart before the horse. If we don't know how many units, what, like what kind of units, are they family units, are they studios, 1 bedrooms, how many square feet of housing versus how many square feet of youth services, if youth services are going to be there. It just seems like there's a lot of questions before you design a heating system or an HVAC system. I just don't understand, but I said it before, I'm just repeating myself.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but.
Let the minutes or the record show that we don't really understand how that works and would love to be better informed in the future.
Yes. Agreed.
I mean, in general, we'd love to have an opportunity to participate in discussions with the city council or whomever about the future use of the school. But hopefully we'll have an opportunity to provide some input in the development planning process. That would be great. We didn't really have that opportunity the last time the property was put out for RFP. And so it would be great if we could have that opportunity in the future.
Yeah, I'll make sure I convey this, to Director Port, who couldn't unfortunately be here today, and, who will in turn, relay that to Donna Holiday, the mayor, since they're in the most recent conversations about this. And I wish they could have been here to kind of review this grant with you, but perhaps we can carry this to, a following agenda.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Anything else on that? Okay, next item, chair updates. I guess the only update I have is I did inquire from I sent an email to Jared Eigerman, the city council chair, and to the mayor with regard to Low Street and whether Low Street could be considered for affordable housing. And I have not heard back from the mayor. I heard back from Jared that I should check with the mayor. So and my reason for doing that is that I think we should just look at every single opportunity for creating affordable housing. And since Low Street, I don't know, it's kind of up in the air right now. Why can't it be considered for affordable housing?
What do you mean Low Street's up in the air? I thought it died.
Well, it's up in the air in that the proposed use was denied. The proposed use that the mayor had was denied by the city council. So I don't see any reason why DCAM is still not offering the property to the city. So now that the city's rejected it for Low Street, I mean for youth services, why can't we look at it for affordable housing?
Or maybe the housing authority could.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Tracy, and she gave me the same information that she gave us at the last meeting she attended, in that, you know, her threshold was or is that she needed to initiate a corporation, a separate corporation, which she has already done. For her to actually go out and do an application, like a one-stop application, and start the development process for developing housing, she does not have the capacity, which, you know, translates into she just doesn't have the manpower herself to do that. So I called her just to get an update and see if that had changed, and her answer was pretty much the same. She's in a position where she could manage any new housing because, you know, that's directly in their wheelhouse. But as far as actually going forward and initiating a whole, you know, development process, such as what the YW does with LD Russo, she doesn't have the manpower to do that at this point.
Right. So she doesn't have the expertise and the
right
manpower, like you say, person power. I mean, it does seem like it may be too much for her to take on, but, you know, she could partner with the Y or with some other developer who has some affordable housing experience, like LD Russo.
Right. She said if she had a strong partner, she could do it.
It's just my understanding is that to get this below market value, which is what the city was considering, it has to be for some kind of municipal purpose. And I don't know whether, you know, the housing authority to develop affordable housing would meet that criteria, but it seems like it might. So that was my first question. You know, would they be able, the housing authority, to get this sort of below market value? And
so Chair Timon, it's Caitlin. I wanted to let you know that Councillor Afroz Khan is in attendance and she has her hand raised. FYI.
Great.
Hi, Afroz.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. No, I've been listening to the conversation and I don't want to interrupt or interject, but I did just want to just kind of share a little bit from my perspective on when I was researching that property and that parcel. And one of the things, and I'm not sure how this will impact in terms of inquiring whether or not it could be attained for the city. You know, one of the things that I think Judy and maybe Madeline shared last time was the Armory building in Newton as an example, and getting that almost for free to do strictly affordable housing. One of the things, though, that at least with this particular property, I think when the mayor was waiting on pursuing an acquisition based on a bill that was going through our state house in terms of the proceeds going to the National Guard as opposed to the state's general fund. And then that passed, I believe, in late I want to say 2019 or 2018. So I don't know if that, one of the things I brought up during our debate as well was, given what the National Guard's been doing in terms of with COVID vaccinations and assistance to very, very varying, I guess, senior housing throughout the state. I'm not sure how much they're hurting for funds or would want funds. So just wanted to throw that out there. Like that was one of the things I was wondering, because the commercial rate for that building is $685,000. The 1/3 cost for the city was $220,000. And so that was just something that I brought up in terms of the need, because it's not just state general fund anymore. It's going to the National Guard, Massachusetts National Guard. And I think one other point, and then I'll be quiet, is I always kind of wondered in terms of an assessment of the entire city. And I think Judy started a little bit, we emailed a little bit on a conversation about, exploring and trying to bring more affordable housing options for folks in Newburyport. And at least with the youth center for, the Newburyport Youth Services, the idea of the site selection committee was something that was really critical, I think, in saying, where is the best place? I wonder, have you guys do have a sense in kind of looking at our city and all the potential locations for projects? During the youth services conversation, other locations were brought up. And I wonder if a similar type of effort has been done by you folks here as well.
So I can address that a little bit. Afros, we did a housing plan, an affordable housing plan. We had a consultant work with us. How many years ago, you all?
Oh, that was 2012.
Oh my gosh, is that long ago? Doesn't seem that long ago. Well, we should probably do that again. But we did, one of the things the consultant did was identify areas where they thought affordable housing would be feasible. And I think that, even though it's a little outdated now, I think some of that probably still applies. So we could certainly pull that out, because I think that would be helpful to look at. And I think we, at least with thinking about Low Street, it's just, sometimes it's just thinking, well, what's even possible, And I think when it seemed that the property was not going to be where youth services is, although I'm not clear if I know the final decision on all that, but if that is the case, that it still could, because it's, it's on a main drag and it's the size of the parcel and all, it could be a good opportunity for affordable housing. And then there are others as well, but we could definitely look at that again and share it with you as well.
Yeah, I think we should do an exhaustive citywide site survey. We should review all the municipal properties. That hasn't been done since 2012. We should review all state properties. There's the Mass Highway C&J property. We should do a review of privately owned properties. We should do a site survey of all properties, if that means using some of our funds to hire a consultant and review and see where we can put affordable housing in the city. Because in my mind, going forward, to do something proactive, what we need to do is create as many housing units as we can. We need numbers, we need units, we need hundreds and hundreds of units to make an impact in this city. So I would be all for that. I would be all for using some of our funds to get a real estate consultant on board, to a real estate / affordable housing, somebody like, Lynn Sweet, to advise us, to get together a set of a list of sites. And I also think we need to do a pretty thorough review of zoning in light of the new zoning changes from the state, and in light of Harvard has the seminar coming up on the overlay zoning that, was it Somerville?
Cambridge, I think.
Cambridge. I think.
Cambridge, I'm sorry, Cambridge. I mean, there are things we can do. And, you know, the other thing that's happened is that the planning board has decided that they want to assign somebody and create a committee to look at zoning, to see what we can change in the zoning with regard to affordable housing. And Ann Gardner, who is on the planning board, she's volunteered to be on that committee. And my understanding is that that committee would be, would include somebody from the trust, somebody from the planning board, it would also include city council members and members of the community. And the objective for that committee would be looking at zoning. But I think that committee could also be broadened into looking at sites and do the whole thing, do the zoning and look at sites. And if we need to hire a consultant, we have money, we need to do that. And that was one of the recommendations when I talked to MHP, you know, a month ago, January 12th, I talked to, oh gosh, I forget their names now.
Shelley Gehring, maybe?
Yes, I think it was her. And that was one of their recommendations. Oh, Catherine Lacey and Katie Bossy. That was the recommendation, is that, you know, we've got a lot of information, you know, with the 2 housing studies we've done in the last 2 years. We've got a very knowledgeable housing trust, and we need to do some homework. And that's the homework we need to do. And she emphasized that it needs to include city councilors. We can't do this on our own. We've got to have buy-in from administration / legislative branch of the city.
Yep, I agree.
Afros, do you think that's something the city council would would embrace or welcome if we did a study like that?
I think so. I really do. I think it is an election year. I think there's been a lot of conversation, and at least I've heard the words during the debate, an interest in helping folks be able to stay here. There's that level of commitment, and also recognizing that there is a shortage of rental. During the whole conversations about short-term rentals, the reason that ordinance is being promoted, in spite of frustration by several folks who own short-term rentals but don't have owner-occupied places, you know, the councilors who supported it have said, because it's also recognizing that when you do STRs, you take away from rental opportunities for folks. And so I think there is an appetite. You know, I say that now, and I hope it stays that way. But I think what I've noticed in my term on the council, though, is as much transparency on efforts is the best thing. So nobody feels that they're being forced or something being pushed down their throat that they don't want. You know, it's been just all about the transparency and openness and conversation. So I think the chair pointing this out, that, you know, we need that engagement, need to bring early on.
Yeah, and that is a great point. This is an election year. And I think affordable housing needs to be a central component of any candidate's platform, whether they're running for city council, and every city councilor is up for re-election, or whether they're running for mayor. It needs to be a central part of their platform, and it's up to us to make it a central part of their platform. If we don't make it a central part, it's not going to be part of it.
Well, so how do we do that? What are the concrete steps we should take to?
Well, I think this is one of them. Looking at the zoning, making concrete, specific proposals as to what we can do in the zoning and looking at sites and making specific overtures to state-owned sites. We need to revisit that list of city-owned properties. I mean, it's been almost 10 years since we looked at it.
May I add something here? Is it okay? I raised my hand.
Oh, sure.
Okay. I think one kind of method, and this was recently done, we had Kim Turner from the Parks Commission give a presentation on Bartlett Mall and some kind of upcoming strategies and ideas that do use CPA funds for the Frog Pond and restoring some of the features there. And I think it was like maybe a 5 or maybe actually not 5, maybe 10, 15-minute presentation that was actually at one of our city council meetings. I often wonder, if the Affordable Housing Trust, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but either given that there's a lot of moving parts right now and relevant pieces happening, one with the kind of what's happening at the state level, the emergency rental assistance program. I often wonder if it's worth asking council president whether it's a memo kind of giving some, pointing some of these things out that, and I don't even know if it's fleshed out well enough yet, but I do think at a future city council meeting, it would be nice to either get a presentation from someone from the Affordable Housing Trust or to have a memo that we could send to a committee to discuss and find out more about. That's how I feel like it gets in the public realm a little bit more. Just an idea when something's ready.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I think you said a lot there, Judy. I think we need to tease it out and do this by design, figure out what comes first, what phase up, because it's a lot of work that you just mentioned. So do we look at inventory first and then move to zoning, et cetera? But to do it all at once would seem really hard and confusing.
Well, I think there's parallel because zoning, if a zoning effort is being done now, and I also know, and I've been emailing the chair on this, is the condominium conversions. I do think we're looking at our ordinances. There is a new lens that we're looking at things. Whereas I think a parallel effort is the sites. I see them as parallel, but obviously I know it's about the resources, right? And who has time, but.
Yeah, I see that as parallel efforts too. I definitely see it as parallel efforts. And I think the fact that the planning board has offered, to work with us on this is, that's significant that they want to, put some of their efforts toward this, and that they've already got a volunteer. Ann Gardner wants to do it. And I know Ann. I've worked with Ann in the past. She and I worked on 13 Market Street back in 2000, 2007, 2008, all those ZBA meetings.
Well, can I suggest that at our next meeting, we have some time on the agenda to really talk this through a little bit more in terms of what we would propose and what's the best form, whether we reach out, to see if we can make a presentation at City Council or want to do some sort of a written document to just, just spend time at our next meeting, kind of really figuring that out.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. I think we should maybe get Bonnie Sontag from the planning board to come to the meeting and talk to us about what their thoughts are, what it is that they wanted to accomplish by proposing the committee. Yep.
Okay, that's good.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I'd love to engage the city council more. And I think what happens, at least for me, I know I just get so busy with my, my day job kind of thing, that it's hard to focus. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Afros, and I think it's something we definitely should be taking advantage of.
Yeah. Yes.
We need to communicate
more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Well, I'm gonna head out then. Thank you so much for letting me, say a few things here. So
Let
we'll
me-
stay in
before you-
touch.
Before you leave, let me just, make one more pitch. I mean, as a former developer, I always feel like it's all about the site. And, we can plan and talk, and all of that is very important. But we have a site opportunity on Low Street. It's in all the debate that we were hearing, I don't remember hearing abutters complaining about that piece of land being developed. So I feel that the Low Street site could be a good affordable housing site. I don't think you're going to get a lot of housing there. I don't know how many units, 6, 10, 12, I don't know. But 4, I don't know. But it does seem like it isn't an opportunity, but I think, it seems as if we would need to have an entity like the Housing Authority to acquire it. I don't think that the city is going to at this point, it's just been
Exactly.
such a
I was
hot
going to say
potato.
that.
Yeah, right. It's got to be some other entity with a public purpose.
And here's, let me just add a few things regarding the public entity or whatever entity will take it on. A lot of the aspects that came up during the debate regarding the wetlands and the environmental reports, which, there is a significant portion that's wetlands, but there's also, I think, 35,000 or 37,000 square feet of upland for development. So I think, I just know I've heard various other people during the debate talk about whether loans could be given the conditions and things like that. So I don't understand enough about the affordable, housing, or whoever was to keep would be pursuing the sale. But I do think it's a great location, and I loved when I saw the example of the state kind of giving some property away. That's the best for these efforts. And I do wonder if that's always an option to get it for $1 to do something like that would be wonderful to support affordable housing.
So, maybe we just, I hear that Tracy Watkins doesn't have the capacity herself to work on a project like this, but maybe somehow or other she could partner with another developer. It could be that it's just not feasible, but I still think it's an interesting development opportunity. And so I'm just...
Yeah.
Anyways, hopefully if this one doesn't work out, we'll be able to find something else. And I do like the idea that Judy suggested of doing more of an inventory and looking at properties that we had thought about before. But
well, do you guys know what it takes to find, like if the mayor was to request not for general municipal use, but for 100% affordable, has that conversation happened, knowing the governor's desire, and I think many, to increase the stock of affordable housing? I don't think that conversation's been had. And I always wonder, is it worth asking, or who would do that? I would assume the mayor.
You mean for the Low Street site?
Yeah, to just say, hey, if we, before we talked about general municipal use, but let's say if we were to acquire this for affordable housing, 100% affordable housing, like the Newton example, which I know was very different in the sense of the type of building, but it was an old armory building there. Has that been asked, or has anyone asked the mayor if that's worth going to DCAM and asking?
I have asked the mayor, and I have not heard back from the mayor. I've asked the mayor if there was a conversation with DCAM, if she has asked them, and if she hadn't, if she would, and I have not heard from her. And that was about a week ago.
Maybe Caitlin, is that something the planning office can do, or from a perspective of part of the available sites for affordable housing? Can you guys?
Absolutely. Yes, I will make sure I double back with the planning office, the mayor's office, and try and get that answer for you, Judy.
All right, great.
And there's still the Brown School.
Yes, well, yes, and that better. Yeah, well, it's zoned for, It's
It
zoned
is.
for a project.
It is.
All right, bye, thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Afra.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Thank you.
Chris. Thank you. Okay, so any next item is planning office updates. Anybody have any questions for Caitlin on her updates?
I just wanted to make sure I understood. Sorry, and I could figure this out if I spent a little time. With our CPC applications, we are looking to be reimbursed for the funding that we committed to the Emergency Relief Fund, as well as a new rental program, correct?
Yes, yeah, yep. Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah, and then the new rental program is for the first and last month's rent.
That's right. I've sent out an email to Judy and Tiffany Nigro from the Pettingill House to try and brainstorm a little bit about the parameters and criteria for
Right.
that new program. And I also invited Tiffany to that CPC meeting, so she can, speak in support of both programs.
Oh, great.
Hopefully that will be a help to kind of have like a team there.
Yeah, so did the application, so with the down payment assistance, are we limiting ourselves to the maritime landing, to the 40R? Was it any rental property?
For the it was not, it was like a tenant based, so if it was a deed restricted unit, it's not limited to the Minco project.
Okay.
Although
Okay.
there's going to be a need there because there's about 20
Right.
units there.
Right. Now that
which I think are being occupied in the summer.
Yes, yes. So yeah, it probably would not make sense to restrict it to Minco. That would seem somewhat weird, say the least. So it should be for any rental property.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that our application was 200,000.
Yep, 200,000
yeah.
asked for the reimbursement and the new program and administrative
Right.
costs as well.
Yep, yep, yep.
It's any rental property with a deed restriction.
Yes, yes.
Caitlin, I just wanted to mention, thank you for including the dates on when info sessions were held and when the lottery will be held for these rental and the home ownership housing. In the future, if you know when the info sessions are going to be held, I would like to know ahead of time. I don't know whether I'd be able to participate, but I am curious.
Okay, good to know.
If we have another project, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay.
Great, good. Excellent. Anything else on
Well, it's
the?
exciting though that we have 2 lotteries coming up.
Yeah, it
Rental
is.
housing and home ownership. I mean,
That's
all
true.
within a short period of time. So I am hoping to, observe the lotteries if I can fit it into my schedule. I'm just interested to see how it's done and who's there. I don't know what I'd observe. So I'm curious.
So I provided about a page of updates, but there are 2 that I wanted to point out. One is that we have the resale at 6 Woodman Way, which is Maritime Landing, Unit 218.
Yep.
So I sent over a draft letter to waive, our right of first refusal. Just wanted to make sure with you all that you're okay with it, and I can prepare that for signature.
Yeah, do we need to vote on that one?
Yeah, I don't think it's not our decision, it's the mayor.
Right, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Okay, so I will let her know that we talked about it and there's no objection to that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
And I will tell you with those 2 other units, I'm telling you, since we're now part of that, being part of the Boston MSA and the way the prices have gone up, I was really appreciative that, David Gasser at CHAPA has worked. He's been amazing with these owners, convincing them to not go for the top dollar. you know, because they could have gone for more, and, you know, kind of talking to them about how you got an affordable opportunity when other people get affordable opportunity, you're still going to make some money. You know, I think if they weren't making anything, obviously they would want to go. So the good news is I feel like at least with those two properties, even though it's so much more, you know, just a few years ago, they were going for 160, 170. Now they're going for like 250, but at least they didn't go for 300. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But it really is it's really almost more moderate to me, more moderate income than lower income, but there's still a need for that in Newburyport too. So.
The other piece of information that I wanted to run by you is that Director Port and Jennifer Blanchet, our zoning administrator, are talking about putting forward, I guess, a housekeeping zoning amendment. And one of the issues that we've run into is that, you know, we sometimes get approached from developers about senior housing, and in those senior housing developments having several different categories of living units, as in memory support, assisted living, and independent living units, and how to apply the inclusionary affordable housing section to each of those subcategories. And I think it's the opinion of the zoning administrator that the inclusionary section would be applied to the independent living units only. Wanting to run that by you.
I know that it's a tricky thing. It is a tricky thing. And I know in some rather large senior developments that were 40Bs, that is the way they ended up doing it. I don't know what you know, I don't know how much of it was in zoning and how much of it had to do with just the sort of pragmatic aspect of it. But I do know that's how it's been done elsewhere.
That was the overall sense of Jennifer, and that she is suggesting that we parse out we have a definition for congregate elderly housing and to make 3 subcategories, the ones I just mentioned. And then I guess going forward as practice, if we were to have a development that that section of the ordinance, the inclusionary housing, would be applied to the independent living units only, not the assisted living and memory care units.
So what about getting a city solicitor opinion on that?
Okay, we can do that. I think that was maybe the next step if we wanted to kind of talk about it further, but we just wanted to bring it to you and talk about it. But I can mention to the director that that's what we want to do. Yep.
I think we should.
Okay. Okay, we'll do.
Yeah, because if we could get some affordable units, that would be awesome.
Right.
Yeah, if there's a way to do it. I know it gets complicated. Yeah, see what the city solicitor says. I think it's
okay.
Good.
We'll do.
I always want to check what developers want to do.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do. Good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, always a good thing.
Yep.
Okay, good. Anything else from Caitlin?
No, that's all I have right now.
All right. So we have approval of the minutes. We have 2 minutes. 2 minute documents to approve.
I can move to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, great, approved. So next meeting date.
I was suggesting either April 4th or April 15th, but should I check with Bonnie Sontag to see which date she can work with on her schedule if we want to invite her to the next meeting?
You mean April 8th or 15th?
Sorry, April 1st or 15th.
1st
Okay.
or 15th. Okay.
Okay, yeah, definitely check with Bonnie, and yeah, one of those days. Great.
Okay.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Anything else from anybody?
I don't think so.
Motion to
right.
adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. All right, everyone, have a good dinner.